Welcome to Midlife Interrupted and Unfiltered.
I'm Melissa, coach, counselor, and professional truth bringer.
And I'm Ann, trial lawyer, accountability partner, and certified Pilates instructor. That is a true statement.
We're just two East Coast women who met at a kindergarten drop-off.
And 15 years later decided midlife needed a megaphone and not a mute button.
So we're here to interrupt the negative narratives
and share the unfiltered truth about reinvention, perimenopause, and everything in between.
Just real talk. Let's go. All right. Welcome to episode 12, starting over financially, building wealth when you feel behind. Because if you're in midlife and you've ever looked at your bank account or your retirement balance, or maybe your debt on your credit card, your career path, or maybe just life in general, and you thought, gosh, I should be so much more further along by now, then this episode is for you. Because today we're going to talk about something deeply personal and deeply practical, and that's starting over financially and building wealth when you feel behind. And first, let me say this clearly. You're never, ever too late. And that you are not bad with money just because life happened. Life happens. And you're definitely not the only woman feeling this way, I promise.
Actually, a lot of women arrive in midlife carrying financial detours that never made it into the plan. Divorce, maybe caregiving for elderly parents, career pauses, raising children, health issues, or a late start on investing, a business that didn't work out. Well, when you put all of that together, it can create this quiet shame that says, I missed my chance. But that is simply not true. Midlife is not the end of your financial stories. And in many ways, it can be the beginning of your most intentional chapter yet.
So here's what we want this episode to do for you. We want to help you replace this shame with strategy, because shame keeps you stuck, but strategy moves you forward. So if you've been avoiding the numbers or feeling embarrassed or telling yourself, oh, I'm just going to deal with this later, let this be your gentle turning point and gentle nudge that today Ann and I are going to walk you through how to begin again financially. And it's not perfect and it's not going to be dramatic, but it's going to be powerful.
Let's start with this. You're not behind. You are at the starting line. And let's begin with a mindset shift.
And if you haven't noticed, to our listeners, that most times we talk about these topics, we always start with a mindset shift because, like we said, we have to interrupt those narratives that need to be interrupted and shifted. And this is why we're starting here. So when women say, I'm behind, what they often mean is, I'm comparing my real life to an imaginary timeline, or maybe I'm comparing my life to Instagram or Facebook. Maybe you thought by this age you'd have the house paid off, no debt, healthy retirement account, maybe a fully funded emergency fund, and total confidence every time someone said the word investing, you had done what you needed to do. But as we all know, life is rarely linear, and life doesn't always happen the way we want. And we always say, you plan, God laughs. The truth is, many women in midlife are rebuilding, and it's not because they failed. It's actually because they've lived.
In fact, women face structural challenges around retirement and wealth building. And research from the National Institute on Retirement Security found that women age 55 and older are 80% more likely than men to be impoverished. And women's typical retirement accounts are substantially lower. And that gap reflects real world issues like caregiving interruptions, lower lifetime earnings, maybe part-time work. It is absolutely not because of a lack of discipline or intelligence. So you may feel behind and you may feel like you have a lot of catching up to do, but we want you to hear this with compassion. You may be responding to a system and a season, not a personal failure. And that matters because when we stop moralizing our money story, we can finally start changing it.
And starting over begins with radical clarity. So if you want to build wealth from here, the first step isn't actually investing. It's clarity. It's not punishment. It's not panic. And it's not an extreme budget you can't stick to. It's just simply clarity.
So to have clarity, you need to know three things: what's coming in, what's going out, and what you already own or owe. That's it. Sit down, look at the full picture: your income, your fixed expenses, your debt balances, your savings, your retirement accounts, and any assets you have. And yes, we know that this can feel uncomfortable.
But avoidance is actually pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And clarity is pretty powerful. So the moment you see the numbers, you stop fighting this fog, right? You stop putting it off and procrastinating, and you can actually work with reality. You can actually make decisions, and you can actually create a plan.
And here's something important. Do not do this exercise asking, how did I end up here or in this financial situation? Do it asking, what is my next wise move from here? Because that one question could change your energy completely.
So, Anne, let's tell them about how their first move might not be so glamorous.
Okay, so your first wealth building move definitely might not be glamorous, because when people hear the phrase build wealth, they often think stocks, real estate, passive income, maybe some beautiful spreadsheet that's color coded within an inch of its life. But if you're starting over financially, your first wealth building move is much simpler. It's stability.
And before you focus on optimizing, focus on this stabilizing, because it means building breathing room between you and the next emergency, quite honestly.
And actually, Mel, do you know that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says that even a small emergency fund can help you recover more quickly from unplanned expenses and reduce the likelihood that a surprise bill turns into debt? They recommend creating a savings habit of automatic transfer and using one-time windfalls like a tax refund or a cash gift that you might receive to jumpstart your savings. So if you don't have an emergency fund right now, do not shame yourself for starting small with this stabilizing move.
Exactly. A small cushion is a cushion, right? It's not insignificant. It's really a form of trusting yourself and giving you a little confidence that something is there. And so maybe your first goal is $500. Maybe it's 1,000. Maybe it's a paycheck. That fund says, the next hard thing does not get to knock me completely off course. And for many women in midlife, this is the exact foundation that wealth needs. Let's talk about why we should just stop waiting to feel confident before we start investing.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
This is where so many women freeze. And I say women, but it's really, this is universal. We don't have to say it's just women, but in midlife, everything feels bigger and more urgent. But many women tell themselves, I don't know enough. I should have started years ago. I need to clean everything else up first, or I'll start when I feel more secure. But confidence usually comes, and often comes, after action, not before it.
And the encouraging news is that more women are actually investing now. Fidelity's 2024 Women in Investing study found that 71% of women own investments in the stock market, with especially strong year-over-year growth among Gen Xers and Boomer women. And that matters because it tells us something important. Women in midlife are not out of the game. They're entering it, re-entering it, and increasing their participation.
And so if you've been sitting on the sidelines and thinking, I'll stay there, this is your reminder that you don't need to become a market expert overnight. You just need a simple, consistent plan. And if you have a workplace retirement account, start there. Or if your employer offers a match, try to capture that match first. This is part of your compensation. But if you don't have a workplace plan, or if you're in business for yourself or something else, look into an IRA or a Roth IRA. Depending on your income and your tax situation, those are great options. And if all of this feels intimidating, simply simplify the question. Ask, what account can I contribute to this month automatically in an amount I can sustain? That question is much easier to answer. And also, I'd like to add, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are financial advisors out there that are incredible and they can help you. There are tools out there that can help you. You don't have to do it alone.
That is a very good point. And Actually, midlife has one major advantage, and that's catch-up power. So here's some good news for women in midlife. The system actually gives you a way to accelerate. So if you're age 50 or older, you may be eligible to catch up contributions to retirement accounts. For 2026, the IRS allows people 50 and older can contribute up to $32,500 to most workplace retirement plans like a 401k, including catch-up contributions. If your age is 60 to 63, the higher limit goes up to $35,750. And for IRAs, the 2026 total for people 50 and older is $8,600, which is more than people under the age of 50.
And that's really important. And I know it's something personally that I've been really trying to focus more on now that I'm over that number. Now you're maybe listening and thinking, this sounds amazing, but I'm nowhere near being able to contribute that much. That's okay. The point is not that you must max everything out immediately. The point is that your chapter still contains room to build, so do what you can. You've not aged out of the opportunity. You've just aged into more options and are able to put more away if you can. But sometimes just knowing that changes the way you see yourself.
So you're not someone who missed the window. You are someone with a new set of tools.
So wealth in midlife is built through systems, not willpower. Although sometimes I wish it was willpower. But let me say something that may release you from this. You don't need more willpower. You need better systems. Because if your financial plan depends on you feeling motivated every single week, then that plan is going to collapse the moment life gets busy, emotional, expensive, exhausting, you get sick, something happens. So instead of relying on this discipline, build systems that make wise choices easier and automatic.
So what might that look like? So maybe it's an automatic transfer to a savings plan every payday, or an automatic retirement contribution increase every time you get a raise, a weekly money date with yourself, one account for bills, and maybe one account for spending, and one account for emergency savings. So make that construct of systems simple, repeatable, and boring even.
Boring is underrated. Boring is how wealth gets built, Ian. Not with drama, not with perfection, but with repetition. So if you're paying down debt at the same time, remember, debt payoff and wealth building do not always have to be an either or proposition. And I think a lot of people think that. I think when I was younger, I thought that as well. But sometimes we have to just keep to our plan, and the wisest plan can be both.
So I will say, if you can pay yourself first, always do it, even if it's a small amount in your emergency fund. And maybe you're aggressively paying off like a high interest debt while still contributing enough to get your employer match. Maybe you're building a starter emergency fund and tackling one debt at a time. And maybe you're automating a very small investment amount just so you stop postponing it into the future. This is definitely not about doing everything at once. It's about making sure your financial life is moving forward and in more than one dimension. So let's protect ourselves and our future self like she matters, because she does. And I think one of the most healing shifts for women in midlife is this: stop treating your future self like a stranger. She is you. She is the woman who deserves options. She is the woman who deserves rest. She is the woman who should not have to rely on panic, luck, or exhaustion to make it through later life. Building wealth now is an act of protection of your future self.
And it's not selfish, it's not shallow, and it's not too late to bother. It's self-care. And a lot of women, especially those used to putting everyone else first, this mindset matters. Because when you say yes to saving and paying yourself first and investing and learning and rebuilding, you're saying, my life still deserves resourcing. My future still deserves intention, and I'm still allowed to become financially secure, and no one's going to stop me.
That's powerful.
Right? Watch me.
Let's talk about a simple reset plan if you're feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, so let me make this practical. If you're listening today and thinking, okay, I'm ready, but I need a place to start, here's your gentle reset.
Here come the beloved action items.
Yes, and this week, here we go. Look at all your numbers. Open or rebuild an emergency fund. Review your retirement accounts or open one if you don't have one. Automate one transfer, even if it's $10, even if it feels small. And this week, stop calling small steps meaningless, because small steps repeated become evidence. Evidence becomes confidence. Confidence becomes a momentum, and momentum changes lives.
That's a great sequence. So if no one has told you this lately, let us be the one to say it. You are not too old, you are not too late, and you are not disqualified from building wealth just because your path was messy. A messy path is still a path, and you can begin with what you have. You can begin with what you know, and you can begin before you fully feel ready.
And honestly, isn't that how most powerful new chapters begin? Not with certainty, but with decision.
Absolutely. And here's another takeaway for the day. You do not need to catch up to someone else's timeline. You need to commit to your own next step.
One clear look at your own step. One small system, one automatic deposit, one brave conversation, one better month than the last. And that's how starting over becomes building wealth.
Thanks for joining us on Midlife Interrupted and Unfiltered.
If this episode hit home, share it with a friend who needs to hear it.
And subscribe so we can keep interrupting your week with real talk. And as a side note, that friend does not have to be in midlife, and it doesn't have to be a female friend. These topics really apply to a lot of people.
And we will continue to share these lovely action items on Instagram at the.interruption. So please follow us.
And
until next time, keep interrupting those narratives.
stay unfiltered.
See you next week.